Hi guys. So today I'm gonna do what I'm hoping is gonna be no more than a 10-minute review of this assignment. So what I'm gonna do actually really quickly is I'm gonna open up a Google Doc because you guys are gonna kind of do the same thing here. Um, Maybe we'll see what happens. And all you're gonna do is the very first thing I'm gonna have you do is make a Google Doc. Or I could provide this to you actually. But hey, like maybe this is the process by which you do it. So you go in here, you make a Google Doc. It's going to be called, today's focus is going to be how revolutionary was the American Revolution. And we're going to define some of these terms and these words. To go faster, was the okay. This is slow moving today. Hello. Okay. All right. So how revolutionary was it? What does that mean, right? I'll probably just provide this to you so you're just seeing me make it in real time. So when we talk about revolution, what we're really meaning is huge and major change, right? Overturning of tradition and a new way of doing things, right? So overturning of things, imagine like flipping over a table and, all sorts of craziness happening. Okay. So underline this, make it look fancy for you. Right, I will change my font because I want the font to be a certain font, and I like this. Sure, okay, great. And let's make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert probably, let's go table, right? So we're going to go revolutionary, right, on one side, and you'll see what I'm doing in a second. Can't spell revolutionary. There's a lot of pressure. And not. So that's kind of what you're looking for. Like, was it revolutionary? Did it lead to a lot of change or not really? So that's what we're going to do. And so we're going to put these documents in here. I'm going to basically go through and explain kind of what each document means. And I'll do the first one with you. And then what I'm going to have you guys do is then you guys are going to go through. I'm going to explain kind of what I think. Certain documents are a little bit trickier than others. So I'm going to go through those like I would, if we were in class. And you guys are going to be asked to kind of put them in this chart, and then you can submit the chart to me through It's Learning. So that's where you'll find this video. That's where all this will be living. Okay, so let's get back into our documents. All right, so each source, and bear with me because I am kind of okay with using these tools, but sometimes I get kerfuffled and I get all confused. So just bear with me. Looks like you're here with me. Okay, so I hope everyone's doing well today. I'm going to skip all this stuff because I don't really care, but these are the sources that we're going to be looking at, right? So there's 10 total sources. And let's just see if I can do that, right? There's 10 total sources, and I went with blue, 10 total sources. And I'm going to go through some of these in more depth than others. Like some of them are very obvious, and some of them you're like, wait, I don't understand what's going on. So, okay, so great. So, and then I go back to my mouse. I have to write yes. Okay, so I don't really care necessarily about this reading, but what I do want to talk about is that historians have kind of said, when we think about the American Revolution, some of them think it's actually kind of conservative, right? So it's not actually changing that much. It's kind of more of the same, or something called the status quo, right? Like, sure, Britain is no longer in charge of America, but a lot of the things that kind of existed in America, like slavery or treatment of women or treatment of indigenous people, that didn't really change in any particular way. However, some of them think that the revolution was radical, right? It produces huge, significant changes. And you can't dismiss those changes, right? So, on the one hand, you have some historians who think the American Revolution is really conservative, not a whole lot of change. And on the other hand, you have people think it's radical. So, this is radical change, and this is conservative, like, right? It's not very different. Conservative, I can't spell. Okay. All right. So let's go back to our documents to figure this out. All right. So the first source is French. First of all, you can tell it's French because This is French language. And this is a royal statue, and it's being pulled down, right, in New York, Nouvelle York, okay? And it's being pulled down, it's being destroyed. And so if you think about, that's very literal, right? This is document one is literally, tangibly, it's not figurative. People are pulling down symbols um, of royalty and nobility and aristocracy. All of those words mean the same thing. So now I'm going to go back into my mouse. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that, right? That's pretty straightforward. So what I would do is I would go, what I would say here is, I want to get out of this. I want you to let me do that. Oh, see, this is not what I wanted to do. Okay, let's go back in here. So what I want to do is get out of my eraser function. I don't want that. And I got to go do, what am I doing? And I want to get out of this. Don't like it. They won't even let me do it because I'm stuck in this document. This is what's a little bit frustrating about this system here. In that I want to be out of this. How do I get out of it, you guys? What do I do? It says eraser option E, so I would get rid of this, right? Now it won't let me get out. I don't want to get out. Get out of here. Get out of here. I want the screen clear. Okay. It's like pressing the two buttons I know work, and neither of these things are working, which is kind of annoying. I'd prefer if this was changing. And it's not. Hold that thought. I'm going to figure this out. You won't even know that there's a pause. Okay, I figured it out. All right, that took longer than it should have, though. Okay, so document, the first one, right? They're pulling down that royal statue. So you would say that that's really radical. You would write in here, document one, right? And you would say, they're literally pulling down a royal statue, which seems pretty radical, right? Like, that's not like, oh, I wonder. So that would go there. And you can underline it. You can, and I, and you can see that. You'll probably see that one. Okay. All right. So let's move back into some more sources because some of them are a little bit challenging. So we're going to scroll down. Okay. So this one you should probably recognize. We hold these truths to be self-evident. What is this from? This is, I like how they're trying to be like coy about it. Like the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. This is the preamble, which means the beginning of the Declaration of Independence. All men are created equal. They are given by their creator, or they're given by their creator, right? Certain unalienable rights. That means rights that you can't take away. You're born with them. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And to secure these rights, governments are created among men, and these governments get their power from the consent of the governed. These are radical Enlightenment ideas, right? Thomas Jefferson, who's the author of the preamble of the Constitution, Jesus, Declaration of Independence, right? These are radical Enlightenment ideas. So this is a huge deal. So document 2, the Declaration of Independence, clearly is going to show, right, how radical and how revolutionary the American Revolution is. So this is clearly, obviously, right, very, very radical. But I want you guys to think about what words in there, what words would you use that could explain why, yes, this is revolutionary, this is radical. The idea in the late 18th century that that the government should listen to the people and the government is really controlled by the people is a really new and actually very radical idea. And Thomas Jefferson is the one who writes the preamble, but in fact, there's a bunch of other people there, obviously, who contribute to the Declaration of Independence. But that one makes sense. Let's go try to find one that you're like, that's not really radical at all. Okay, let's go try to do one of those. All right, let's get into, I think, one of the more complicated sources, which is this one. It's a little bit hard to see. We'll do document 3, and I'll do 4 because it can be a little bit confusing. And what I can do is tomorrow I'm going to do like a quick, like, what has this been all about this week? And I can talk more in depth about these. And I will read this one out loud before we take off. Some of these obviously a little bit more tricky than others, but let's go. Let's talk about this about 3 and 4. Okay, so document 3. These are people playing pool in Virginia in 1797. So clearly, the American Revolution has already taken place. The United States exists. What is happening here? Well, first of all, let's take a look at. I'm going to use some red here. This guy looks fancy, right? He's fancy. This is really sophisticated 21st century technology. Fancy, right? He's a fancy dude. And then let's look at, hey, what is missing from this guy? He has no shoes on. You know what that means? That means he's poor. That means he's not fancy. Now, you guys, I don't want to blow your minds or anything. This is pretty radical. Oh my goodness. Look at this guy and this guy playing together. One is rich, one is poor, worlds colliding. That is radical, right? And then you kind of look in the background here, and these guys are just watching. This, I say, this is radical, right? Okay, all right. So you can put that one in yourself. All right, so radical, because this guy's, fancy pants, and this guy, literally, his pants are kind of sad looking anyway, and he has no shoes. That's a sure sign of poverty. No shoes in political cartoons, always communicating very subtly, that person's poor. They can't even afford shoes. All right, let's talk about 4. Back into my mouse. Okay. All right. This one is a little complicated because there's numbers. But overall, you look here, wealthy people in 1765, 10 years roughly before the revolution, right? Okay, 10 years. All right. Most people have control, right? Economic status of the representatives in 6 colonial state legislatures. That means like people who make the laws. That's what that means. Most people, right? In 1765, a lot of people, right? Like, look at these numbers. Rich people have more control. Now, in 1785, what? Look at that. Look at that. The shift is pretty clear, right? From the very wealthy having control to the less wealthy having control. Do the poor have control? No, the poor never have control. Burn it all down is what I'm trying to say. Okay, all right, I'm not advocating for class warfare, but I'm saying if you look at these charts, it's like pretty clear that you should probably advocate for class warfare. But okay, all right, like the American Revolution in no way, shape, or form changes in a meaningful way, I would argue, the class system in America. It definitely is trending in a direction, but it is not some sort of like, overturning of all sorts of things. It's not like the communist revolution or the Bolshevik revolution in Russia in 1917. Okay, all right. And then you look here in the South, and this key is kind of letting you know like what does wealthy mean. There's definitely trends in which, so in 1765, most people, half of the legislatures in these areas are controlled by the wealthy. And that's going down. There's a shift, definitely. So these numbers are not overwhelming, right? If you look at certain numbers, you're saying, well, obviously there's trends towards democratization, which means it's a fancy way of saying more people have a larger say, and those people tend to not be extraordinarily wealthy, right? You're seeing trends towards that. You're not seeing the system being pulled down. You're not seeing class warfare. You're seeing trends. Okay, I want to try to wrap this up because I think I'm losing you if I haven't lost you already. Okay, all right. You think to yourself, abolition of slavery, clearly that's very radical. But if you look at these dates here, well, if the American Revolution was super radical and revolutionary, when would slavery have been abolished? 1776. Was it? No. Slavery is not abolished in the United States federally until really 1865 with the passage of the 13th Amendment. And that's why you see all these dates here, 1865, 1865. 1863, Lincoln issues the Emancipation Proclamation. and says that Confederate states that are in rebellion, slaves are free. So again, you're going to see in the North here, right? These numbers, right? If you look in Pennsylvania, 1780, slavery is abolished. Vermont, 1777. Maine and Massachusetts are like the same. Maine is part of Massachusetts, 1780. You're seeing 1784 in Rhode Island, 1783 New Hampshire. It's never allowed in these territories. So again, we're talking about trends. A trend in and of itself doesn't necessarily mean like it's radical. But again, we're getting there. All right. And then we're going to kind of scroll down to, I'm going to read this because it's hard to read because everyone's like, I can't read script. This is my favorite of the sources because it's so poignant and so moving. And so I'm gonna leave off with this one. Okay. And so, young African American man in 1819 delivering a speech in a New York school. Free school means you can attend this school. It's primarily for Black students. I doubt that white students attend the school at all because there's no integration whatsoever. Valedictorian, right, means he's the first in his class. He's incredibly gifted. He's incredibly bright. And then he says the following. Why should I strive hard and acquire all the constituents of a man, if the prevailing genius of the land admit me not as such, but in an inferior degree? Pardon me if I feel insignificant and weak. So he's like, why should I work hard when everyone in this country, the overall idea is that I'm not even a person. Like I am, and if I am a person, I'm not equal. What are my prospects? To what shall I turn my hand? Shall I be a mechanic? No one will employ me. White boys won't work with me. Shall I be a merchant? No one will have me in his office. White clerks won't associate with me. Drudgery, which means like bad work, and servitude then are my prospective portion. Can you be surprised at my discouragement? This is his speech he makes as a valedictorian. This is probably, I want to put this one in here. This document, right, clearly indicates that the American Revolution is not particularly radical at all, right? So this is the first very clear one. I would put this as document 6. But I want you to think about what is he saying in document 6? That it's a conservative movement. It's not particularly radical. It doesn't lead to a lot of change. And you also want to connect document 6 to document 5. So I'll help you out here and I'll put document 5, right? Because if you look at some of the dates in there, it's going to be clear that in some ways, yes, there's trends towards abolishing slavery, but it certainly doesn't mean that slavery is abolished everywhere. And the only reason slavery is abolished is because the Civil War is fought in 1861 to 1865. And to be clear, yes, the Civil War was about eradicating slavery. It was about slavery, okay? About protecting slavery in the South. It was about eventually getting rid of it in the North. Just want to put that out there. Okay, so I kind of gave you like a little bit of what you need to do here. I will include this, right? When you see this, by the way, you're going to see just, you won't have the document stuff in here. I'll leave document 1 in there, but document 2 and 5 and 6, you're going to want to add in yourself, and then you'll submit the sources to me. I think watching this, you might have watched only the first 5 minutes just to kind of get a feel of it. You might watch the whole thing. I think all in, if this, a package is arriving. That's exciting. I think if this is taking you longer than 20 minutes, just stop after 20 minutes because I don't want you to have to do any more work. We can talk more about this when I record my little kind of check-in lecture tomorrow. So I hope you guys are doing well. I miss you guys. Hope you're not playing too much Xbox. Just take a break a little bit just for some time. And if you have any questions or concerns about anything, just text or email. And I will see you guys really soon. Okay? Miss you. Bye.